Welcome to another edition of Mark's Inspiration. Glad you could join me here today as always. Great to be back home. And it's a beautiful sunny, gonna be a hot one today in St. Louis, Missouri today. Hope it's great wherever you are in the world. We just got in last night about 7:30, 8 o'clock. I got home about a little after 8. And be it ever so humble, there's no place like home. I was only gone for a couple days. I love to travel, but I love to come back home. It's always good to have a home. Okay, today we're going to continue in The Power is Within, available on Amazon Books. Pick up your copy today. I know it will be of value to you and helpful. We are on location 407 in the ebook. First, smash that like button and subscribe, and check out my website at marksinspiration.com. And remember, every Saturday night we have a live podcast at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Join us. I know you'll enjoy it. It's a good time. Okay, here we go. We're talking about the power in you that you can use to acquire anything you desire in life. The power can be used for either good or bad. Hitler destroyed half the world with it, killed millions of people, and other people like Gandhi freed millions of people with the same power. It just depends how you use it. You have free will and you have choice. Hitler or Gandhi was no different than you. You have the same power available to you as they did. You can choose to use it however you desire, but you can either reap the benefits or suffer the consequences of how you use that power. So let's continue, and I can help you to maybe realize how you can use that power yourself to achieve the things you desire. You may not want to take over the world or free a nation as Gandhi did, but you have desires, and those desires within you, you are capable of achieving them. You would not have the desires were you not capable of achieving them. I'm talking about genuine, burning desires. Something that you try not to think about because you don't think you can do it, but it continues to pop up in your head over and over again. So, let's go. Without further ado, they belittled the power and gave them exactly the crop they planted. Okay? You have to believe that this power exists within you. According to your belief, it is done to you in a way that you could never imagine. You don't have to do it. You just have to do what is in front of you. And bridges of incidents will be placed before you for you to walk across. Now, it takes courage to walk across these bridges, and you have to be willing to say yes to life, to realize your dreams and desires. Okay, never realizing it was only in them cooperating with these universal laws that drew them to this. How much better could their life be if they just took a little time to think? If they took advantage of the power available to them in an intentional way rather than by default. You're constantly creating or walking into the life that you have thought of, so to speak. You've brought these circumstances and conditions into your life by your dominant thinking. It's just easy to, it's not easy, okay? It's wiser to start thinking about and controlling your dominant thinking so it lies in the direction of what you desire to have instead of what you fear or what you loathe. The media, social media, news media, all that focuses on the negative. It actually focuses on what you don't want in your life. So why keep abreast of it? Why watch it? Why continue to allow it to feed your mind with things you don't want? You say you need to be informed. Do you really? I don't watch the news, and I get to hear what I need to hear. If it's important enough, somebody will tell me. And if I need to research it, I can go look on media. But I have to wonder how much of that is true and how much of it is not true. So then am I really informed? Hard to say. The media really pushes sensationalism. They want ratings. They're more concerned, at least my opinion, about the ratings than they are about the truth. But then again, the truth is in the eyes of the beholder. They may not necessarily be lying, but what they're seeing and what they're portraying to you is filtered through their life experiences and the life experiences of the people who decide which stories show and which ones don't, and how the slant on those stories are. So we will continue. I forgot to shut the timer off on when I was meditating, and it went off while I was videoing, so we got cut off. Okay, so I was talking about the evidence of how things are filtered. For example, the election advertisements before the election. If they're advertising for a certain candidate, they make him look really good and they focus it on the great things he's done. But if they're against somebody, then they're focusing on the bad things he's done and what they consider to be bad, or they're trying to make him look bad. So it's really evident there that you can't really, and they may believe what they say, and maybe some of what they say is true, but it's almost like gossip because everything is filtered to whoever is portraying the story. So the truth lies somewhere in the middle, but that's a whole nother story there. Let's continue. Most people don't really think. They remember fondly or regretfully about the past. They worry about the future or look forward to it, but they never decide to take control of either, to reassign value to the past or to revise the past, or to directly form their future. Even simply changing the routine is difficult for most. They go through each day performing the exact same movements they performed the day before and the day before that, driving the same way home, watching the same show every evening, reading the same books until the pages fall out. Then they fret over nothing ever improving. You keep on doing what you're doing, you're going to keep on getting what you've been getting. And if you keep on thinking what you've been thinking, you're going to keep on getting what you've been getting. Same thing. Your thoughts precede your actions. So if you're thinking the same things over and over, then you're going to do the same things over and over. Unless something from the outside comes in and gives you a jolt, which it may be doing for your own good. You will continue to do the same things and get the same results for the rest of your life until you pass on. Simple and sad, isn't it? Okay. Then they fret over nothing ever improving. They tell themselves it's a rut, attempting to believe that they'll eventually pull out of it. You won't unless you do something different. Only to eventually realize that there is very little difference between a rut and a grave. The difference is the rut is turned up on the ends. That's it. So do you want to live in a grave? Do something different. See, even though people are miserable, and I've been there, where they're at, they're afraid of change. They know what the current situation is, but they don't know what's going to happen if they do something different. Even though they may be miserable, they're afraid of change. Fear, fear, fear. It has to be eliminated. Well, you can never eliminate it, but you have to step through it. Because on the other side of fear is where your dreams and desires, the achievement of your goals exist. Fear, and it disguises itself as procrastination, rationalization, justification, ad infinitum. All these excuses you use to disguise what is really just fear, anger, resentment. Well, I'm not going over there because that guy works there and I don't want to see him, so I'll get a job somewhere else. Or I won't try to make that sale there. Or I'm not going to paint that guy's house because I heard he's a jerk. All these excuses, that's all they are to justify fear of approaching and doing something. Now, there's a time and a place for everything, but step out there, especially when it comes to women. You guys, you want to date a girl, you see a beautiful girl, but you're afraid to say anything to her. What are you afraid of? Rejection will not kill you. They say that comes from back when you were a child. If your mother rejected you, you would die because you depend on her and your father totally for everything in your life. So the fear of rejection is just some false thing that you've learned. I've learned it too, that comes from feeling like if your mother leaves you, you're going to die. Because when you were young, in the primitive wild, had she left you, you would have died. But guess what? You're not young anymore. You're not in the primitive wild. You're not in the jungle or out on the tundra. So if a girl rejects you, you're not going to die. You're actually going to feel better for approaching her and stepping out and stepping through the fear. Same way as anything you want in life. I don't always feel good about getting on the camera here and making a video. I'm not afraid anymore here because I've done it so much. But every time before I do my podcast, I started that, okay, this weekend will be my 4th podcast. And of course, we're still trying to iron things out, to set things up. So we're having problems with the cameras and the video, which is normal. We're getting it straightened out. Okay, but every time before the podcast, I get nervous. The same way I did before I would fight. I was an amateur boxer and a professional boxer, and the nervousness and the fear, but it's just fear. That's all it is. Once I do it and I'm finished, I feel electric. I feel like $1 million. Whether it goes well or doesn't go well, I stepped into the fear. We are so safe in the U.S. today, we don't even know how to have an adventure. We try to keep everything perfectly safe, and it just kills the sense of adventure. Now, I'm not saying to go out there and be stupid, but my God, we didn't have helmets, we didn't have shin guards when we rode our skateboards or bicycles. We climbed trees, we did all these things. Yes, and some kids got hurt, and I'm not saying or advocating go out there without a helmet on. When I raced triathlons on my bicycle, of course I wore a helmet. Of course it was mandatory. I may or may not have wore one had it not been mandatory. But the point is, get out there and take a risk. We've made things so safe for everyone today. They have to jump off of bridges with elastic bands, bungee cords. We have to parachute. We have all these extreme sports. These are just a substitute of how it used to be in daily living when we lived in the Wild West and there was danger every day. We humans have a need for danger, for adventure, for excitement. I know when I lived in Latin America, it's like living in the Wild West there. Every day you're not sure whether you're going to get robbed or something's going to happen to you. Someone's going to try to assault you. I was robbed at gunpoint by 4 or 5 guys with 4 or 5 guns. I had to knock a couple of guys down. They tried to assault my wife and myself, tried to get money from us. I could tell you several stories about what it was like living there. But I'll tell you one thing, it was adventurous. It was great. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Every time you went out, you just never knew what was going to happen. They would rob the buses at gunpoint. It's just, yeah. But that we have this sense of adventure and we need to satisfy that. We have so much depression here in the United States. And I think, just my opinion, mostly because people don't get out and do anything. They sit in the house on their electronic device and they just don't do anything. The solution, get up and go out and live your life. Fall down, scrape your knees, break a finger, break your wrist. I've done all that stuff. So what? When I was 13, I was riding a bicycle with my friends down this gigantic hill. I ended up in the hospital with a concussion. Hey, I lived through it, all right? Maybe if I had a helmet on, well, I got really skinned up terrible, so if I hadn't got knocked out, the pain might have been insurmountable. But the point is, when I was a child, and probably you were too, if you got out of the house, you were always on an adventure. You know, there's no adventure in watching an electronic device of someone else having an adventure. Too many people live vicariously through other people. You need to get out there and do something. Get out there and have your own adventure. Whatever it is that turns you on, that fires you up, get out there and do something. If you're depressed, get up and do something. I've suffered severe depression in my life. I remember one time in this very house about 1.5 years ago, all I could do to make myself get up and go downstairs and work on the room I was going to use for an Airbnb. It was terrible. I'd go down there and do something, I'd come back up and just, it would exhaust me. I mean, but I made myself do it and I got through it, and it was terrible. And I'm not belittling depression, it is paralyzing. But only you can make yourself get up and do something. You just got to work through it and look within yourself to find what the source of this depression is. Okay, we're way off track here, but that's just the way I go with the flow. I hope this has been of value to you, and I gotta go. I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day, and thanks again for joining me. I appreciate you and your patronage.